You will create the outcomes again and again that support that story, that prove that story to be true until you change it. In today's episode, I want to talk about how you change your results and the key aspect of changing your story to change your results. Now, what are results? Results can be your income. They can be the impact you're making. They can be your health. They can be your relationships. They are your life. They are what you are experiencing in this world. And if you want different results, you need to change your story because you will live into your story. You will create what your story is, and you will keep creating that over and over and over again until you change your story. So let's dig into this. First, you want to find out what the story is that you are telling about yourself. So how do you recognize a story? So again, the story that you're telling about yourself is the internal party line that you have, the internal concept that you tell yourself, my life is like this because of X, Y, and Z. It could be what your childhood was like. It could be about outside circumstances. It's the story that you tell about yourself, about others, and the world. Okay. And you have many stories. People talk about money stories, which we'll talk a little bit about later in this episode, but there are other stories as well. And you need to understand your story because you will live into that. You will keep creating it again and again and again and keep getting the results that align with your story until you change your story. So if you want different results, you have to change the story that you're telling about yourself, others, and the world. So let's dive into that. So first, how do you recognize a story? You want to start with what you want. What is that? Identify that. Own it. Really see that. If you've been listening to this podcast and for a while and you're a loyal listener, which I love our loyal listeners. They are amazing. We get to talk to them all the time when they book consults with us, comment in the community, all of that. And one of the things that is challenging often is owning your big desires. Now, some people own their big desire and sometimes people are pushing it away. Okay. So you're going to want to listen back to some of our previous episodes about the power of desire and really owning that. It's one of those things that I teach about a lot and you cannot hear it often enough because desire is causative. It's what drives your ability to step into more for yourself. It's causative. Now your story is what's going to limit you or allow you to grow, but desire is what gets the engines going. And if you want to know more about that, check out the Unstoppable Women Income Breakthrough Summit. We have that coming up in a few months, and it's a great way to really step into your desire. Okay. So you want to start with what you want. What is that? And then look at the results you are getting in relationship to that desire, that goal, that thing, experience, feeling that you want. And what's the gap there? There is a gap. There always is a gap unless you're not growing. So if there is a gap there, then you need to ask yourself, why does that gap exist? What's causing that gap? And you're going to want to really get super, super clear about that. And I'm going to give you a few examples of how to do this, a couple with business, a couple with non-business. And when you look at that gap and you answer the question of why is that gap there, and you're really honest about it and you dig a little deeper, you will discover what your story is. And then when you recognize your story, you have the opportunity to change it. Now, many people see their story and stay stuck in a loop of recreating it over and over again, even though they're aware of it. Awareness is only the first step. After that, you need to know how to change a story. Okay. And the story you tell about yourself is your self-image or your identity. But there are other stories. There's stories that you tell about how the world works and how others work, including money stories. And that would be how the world works. And that can be also about others, like who are people who make money. There's a whole belief structure there that you have to unpack and then do something about. It doesn't work to just stop with a level of awareness, but awareness is step number one, and it's key here. So let's do a few examples of how to work this process. So let's say your goal is that you want to make 100K, or maybe it's 1 million. Maybe it's multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? You have a money goal. It's not important right now if that's aligned with any of the numbers that I just shared. If it is, great. They're just examples. Use your money goal here. This is the amount that you've named that will let you live the way you want. It's what you think you want right now to live better, do more, have the impact you want. It represents something to you. Whatever that number is, identify it. And don't get wobbly here. You know what your number is, okay? It comes up. It's that intuitive number that's just like, there it is. I'm going to own that. And if you have worked this process at all, you will have claimed that number. So that's your number. But now you want to look at your results. What do the results show you in respect to that number? What do you see there? Do they show you that you're nowhere near it? Or do they show you that you're almost there, but you haven't made it? Do they show you that you've surpassed it, so you really didn't, necessarily stretch yourself? What did they show you? Most people will say that they showed them that they weren't making that number. They have a number, maybe your number is 100K and you made 30, 40, 50, 60 last year, but you didn't make 100K. Or your number is $1 million, but you made 350 last year. That's just a result. Okay. What do the results say? And then you ask yourself, what are you saying about that experience? What is the reason for that experience? And just take a moment and list it out. Okay. Write it all out. Make a note of it and really write down all the reasons why that is your result. Okay. Especially if there's a gap there. Okay. So, I have a few examples here. I'm going to give you a few to work with to help you play this out. So let's say that your goal was 100K and you made 60 and you didn't make your number, and you go into asking yourself, okay, why did that happen? Very neutrally. Why did that happen? And you come up with, my mom was sick. I had to take care of my mom. I had to move house. That was a big thing. It was complicated. We were selling the house. We were buying a new house. I broke up with my boyfriend. The kids changed school. All of that meant that I didn't have time, right? That's the result. Like I didn't have time to put into my business. Okay. So this is a conglomeration of what I hear often from the women who are really going for it, and yet they haven't reached their results. When I ask them what happened instead, they will say all these things. And these are very important things in your life. It's not to dismiss the level of importance there, but it's to really recognize what the story is that you're telling yourself about why you can't or why you didn't achieve what you wanted. So underneath that is like, I didn't have time for it. And then if you read between the lines here and dig into what the real story is, it can be a number of things, but here's some examples. Everyone else is more important than me, my success, and my business. I get my sense of worth and importance by taking care of others. I need to be needed. That's a big story for people. I'm not as important as other people. That's also a big story. Pleasing others is what keeps me safe. And that's another big story. Now, I want you to understand that when I say story, it's the belief structure that you have. Okay. I am not saying you're lying or it's not true. It's your beliefs to date. Okay. And I'm also not saying that you couldn't continue to have those beliefs if you chose to, but you need to understand what the story is. Okay. So if any of those rang true, just make a note of it. Okay. And recognize that you will always live out your story until you change your story. Okay. So if you're wondering why you may not be getting the results you want, you need to go deep here. You need to unpack the story. Okay. So the story is the unconscious or subconscious programming. This is what you will continue to live out. And the law of subconscious momentum says until you change the belief structure in the subconscious mind, in the subconscious programming, you will continue to play that out and you will get the results that match that. Okay. It's a pattern. If you have ever had a pattern that happens again and again and again, this is what is happening. Okay. So to change your outcomes, you really need to change your story. So let's look at another example here. Maybe your list of reasons looks more like, I don't know how to, or it's so hard. Building a business is so hard. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm confused. I've tried so hard and still can't get ahead. There isn't enough of me to go around, all of this stuff. If this is your story, if this is what's going on in your head, right, then this is a story of struggle. And you have to struggle to succeed. And if you've ever heard me say, maybe you're addicted to struggle or you are addicted to struggle, this is what you really need to pay attention to. It doesn't have to be this way. You can solve any problem, any challenge that business brings your way. But if you have a story that leads you to have these thoughts, you have to recognize it. It will keep you playing small until you change it. And this is a self-image and identity issue. You have an identity that says, I am someone that has to struggle. I am someone for whom it's hard to achieve success. It is only good to be someone who achieves success if they struggled to achieve it. And I want to let you know that on both of these stories that I've laid out, they are ones that I used to have. Okay. So this is not, do not, if you're recognizing yourself in this, do not, feel persecuted. Okay. This is an awareness practice. And once you see it, then you have the ability to change it, which is exactly what I did and what, you need to do for yourself. So I had both of these stories and I had to really work through them. And I had money stories too. Like I can only charge a certain amount for the service that I offer. Other people in the industry don't charge as much. So how could I? That was for a different business that I ran prior to this one. So we're talking a decade or so ago. What I do isn't worth that amount of money. That's a story, right? If you have that running in your head, and that's a really interesting one. I just had an experience of coaching one of our clients at the Spirit of Wealth retreat that we do for our program. And her question was, how can I charge more? I don't do what you do. I do something that's more tactical. And her business is more done for you services and less of a coaching model, though she does do some coaching. And she was comparing herself to me, which is, I honored, but she needs to do her. And she was saying like, I can't charge as much because I don't do it like you do it. And that is a deeper story of not good enough. Like I'm not as good as other people. I'll never be enough. And you really need to recognize that underneath pattern. Okay. And this is a client who's doing great. I mean, she's doubling every year, which is fan-freaking-tastic. Okay. And she's having new and higher levels of awareness, which is also fantastic. And she will continue to not feel good enough if she keeps playing that story out. And it's a big one. So you have to look at that. And I remember thinking the very same thing. This is like, if you're going, oh my God, that's me. It's because it is a common way we are raised. Not everyone has the same stories, but if you're recognizing this, know that there's a way out and you can really break through. And that's the key to really having quantum level success, really breaking through and making that income breakthrough. So now I told you that I was going to give you a non-business example as well. So let's do that now. Let's say that you want to look and feel freaking amazing. Okay. But your results are that you're perpetually 20 pounds over your natural, I feel awesome weight. What are the reasons you say about that? What do you tell yourself? Okay. So here are some examples of what you could possibly be telling yourself. I'm addicted to carbs. I have no self-control. Everyone around me eats so poorly. How am I supposed to change my diet? It's my husband, boyfriend, wife, girlfriend. It's their fault. They just egg me on. They have poor eating habits. I need to do what they do. All of that. Well, what's the story behind that? Well, fundamentally, you guys might not like this, but I'm just going to call it out. I'm a victim. Life is happening to me. I don't have agency or power in this world to affect change. That's the underlying story. It could also be a story of it's only safe to do what others around me do. Okay. I have to do with what others do. I can't go out on my own and do my own thing. That's not safe. That if I am really focusing on myself, that's going to cause challenges in my relationships. There could be all sorts of things there. Play with this. See what pops for you. Become aware of what the story is that you are playing out for yourself, because you will live into that story, meaning you will create the outcomes again and again that support that story, that prove that story to be true until you change it. So how do you change it? You change it through constant spaced repetition and taking bolder, different action in the face of the terror barrier, which comes up when you try and break free of the story. And it happens for everyone who's going for more until they understand this concept and they become masterful at moving through it. So constant spaced repetition and bold action. So with that, let me know what you think your story is and how it's holding you back. Okay, rock it out, be unstoppable, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Hey, thanks so much for joining us and being part of the Unstoppable Woman movement. We have got a ton of free resources for scaling your business at theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. And you can find that link in the description below. So go ahead and check those out. And we'd also love your help in getting our message out to more and more women. If you'd be willing to share this video with all the unstoppable women in your life, that would be fantastic. And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Reviews, likes, and comments are greatly appreciated. We go in and read them all. So thank you for those. And thanks for listening, and be unstoppable.